Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly InSalt. My name is Wade. I'm here with Laura.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Kurt is also here. You are here.
I am.
Yeah, that's true. And our guest today, Chris Wheeler. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Episode 273.
273.
That's a lot of episodes. We say that every show, though. Or I do, probably.
You do. Yeah.
You know what I was noticing last night is that there was a giant fire downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It looked pretty bad. We're kind of a big city now.
It is
which
a big
is weird.
city. Mm-hmm. A lot of people.
It's getting too populated.
It is.
It kind of sucks to drive anywhere.
People drive like idiots.
Yeah, I hate people.
Me too.
Except for the listener, of course.
Yeah. We love our listeners.
So, Chris, man, welcome.
Thanks.
You know what? It's kind of an interesting story of like how we kind of met in the first place anyway, because you went to the same bar that I go to and start talking, and you're in town from Arizona for a little while.
Yeah, Phoenix, Arizona, Avondale, Arizona. Yeah.
First question is, how the fuck do you live down there?
Yeah.
AC and water. Yeah, plenty of that.
And a pool. Do you have a pool?
I don't have a pool.
You don't have a pool?
We have hoses though. It's cool.
It's kind of the same thing.
Right.
Sprinklers.
Yeah, sprinklers.
Yeah. So we kind of got on the topic of let's just start out with what brings you to here. I mean, let's just start from the beginning with you, I guess. From your childhood.
Way
back. Start from age 2.
Age 2.
No, you came up here because you're doing a very specific job that is kind of interesting, and you own a couple companies, right?
2, yeah.
Two,
so yeah.
And you're renovating assisted living.
We are,
places,
yes. We go around well, I guess you could say that when we started, it was kind of the western part of the United States.
Okay.
Renovating senior living facilities and things like that. I won't say any names and what facilities, but and it's kind of grown. We started in Arizona as a small company, and in 7 years we've grown to this. We got a contract to do a senior living facility out there. They liked what we did, so. They gave us an opportunity to go from state to state and do it.
It's got to be kind of fun with the travel.
Yeah.
Stressful.
And meeting new people all over the place.
Yeah. The new people's cool, It's like you never know what you're going to get into, but
true.
Yeah.
So what I'm assuming when you first started your company, it wasn't assisted living stuff. It was
so at first it was mostly like handyman things like that, obviously, and then we came about getting the licensing down and going through the steps to properly be a general contractor out of the state of Arizona. But we just every day we worked at, I'd say 9 to 5, but I guess construction starts at like 5 a.m. and you go until you figure that it's good and you can go home and sleep. Yeah. So but other than that, we just we do that, and then after the day there's our guys get to go home and sleep, but then there's still grind for the owner,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think people underestimate that all the time, the amount of work it takes to own a business.
Absolutely.
Because when you get off of work, what are you still thinking about?
Yeah, well, when
business,
I work, business. So usually when I get off, how my day goes is, I gotta I complete the day, and then I still got to go out and bid jobs. I got to get jobs, work for the guys,
Yeah, because if you don't have the work, then you can't pay the guys. And if you can't pay the guys, then they don't work for you anymore.
For sure, yeah. Absolutely.
I think one of the things, a good segue right now for that is just people, like hiring people in construction. It seems like a kind of you got to be a certain type of person. It's kind of rough and tumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that employees, is that always one of the biggest hurdles?
It's definitely one of the biggest hurdles. I mean, right now, this day and age, it's kind of hard to just get anybody to hire, really. There's not a lot of people. Everybody wants to work, but when they come to work, especially the younger crowd,
kind of slack off a little bit.
For sure, yeah.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
End up in the shitter.
Yeah.
Like, what have you been doing in there for an hour?
On their phone.
Yeah. We know what they're doing in there for an hour.
On their phone, because that only takes like 2 minutes.
That's right. So, but you definitely got to deal with a certain crowd. Construction brings in some crazies. So yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of, I don't know why in that industry it sounds like there's just a lot of struggle. You know what I mean? Like maybe substance abuse or just like other addictions or alcohol. And I'm sure you get people that call in like, I'm sick today, man. Yeah, I'm sure you are. You're at the bar until close.
2 a.m.
Yeah.
They didn't see themselves coming in that day. They got an eye problem, and it's definitely substance abuse. Definitely in the construction industry plays a big part. You got to be kind of crazy or on something to enjoy working hard and constructively. It's like, especially in Arizona, like I worked
in the heat.
Absolutely. I think the hardest job I had was before we started all this. We were working at the airport, and it's like 110 degrees outside.
No way.
No.
Right on the tarmac. And then I'm down in a 30-foot hole, building Perry forms and things like that, and it's no wind.
Yeah,
130 degrees in the hole. It's like pretty bad. Yeah,
I can't imagine being a roofer in Arizona.
Oh no!
Like you probably
Arizona.
wake up at like 3 a.m. You're like, let's get started.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Before the sun, and once the sun comes out, you're like, no, we're done.
Yeah. Problem with that is that there's the city restrictions.
Yeah, noise ordinance restrictions. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
What are so before you got into that, what were you doing? Have you kind of always been in the construction world or that type of thing?
Well, when I first started my, I guess, job career, I started working at a place called USA Motorsports. Found out I was having a kid. Ended up getting hired. Typically, they wouldn't hire anybody like me because I couldn't work full time. I was still in high school, but I was like right across the street. And then I only took like 2 classes, so I was there by noon, And then I did that for a little while, sales. Got good at it. 2008 hit. They weren't giving anybody loans for toys.
Yeah.
That was like the crash.
Yeah, definitely the crash, And then my first real construction gig was for a friend of mine who owned his own underground utilities business. And, he's like, look, I can give you something, but this is all I got. $300 a week for however long I could work.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of kicked off from there.
That's
so what spiraled off into you creating a construction company then? Was it kind of like out of necessity, or was it more something that you wanted to do?
So I've always been like very like business minded, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
My ex's parents were, I guess you can call them successful entrepreneurs. And I kind of always like looked up to that. And then I wanted to just do my own thing, and then really working all these years. I've tried starting multiple businesses all these years, like a jump company, like, with the big inflatables. And I didn't really have the capital to hit it off and do it big, but a cleaning company and a carpet business company, but realistically I've always like fallen back into the construction trade. And I've never been like happy working for other people.
So being your own boss, it's got to be rewarding.
Absolutely. So this time around I got straight and got my life back together, and I was like, screw it. I've been doing construction for so long, so let's just see how it goes.
Do you enjoy it?
I do. I love it.
See, that's cool. And I think you've touched on like a really important thing. It's that your first businesses that you made weren't necessarily successful. Maybe not flops, but they definitely didn't go down the path that you were. It's like you tried, and then you tried again,
absolutely,
and then you tried again, and
that's
now
what counts.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of the drive it takes. It's not easy. I think it's easy to get caught up in, I'll just wing it and then things will work out. And sometimes you got to work for shit. You got to work hard too.
I think the beginning of like business and wanting to own your own business is like, so you don't really know what you want to do. You just know you want to own a business. So you try to find the easy businesses to start. The ones that don't take a ton of money.
Make a lot of money.
Exactly.
Don't take a ton of money.
Yeah. So it's trial and error. You know? I figure like I'm a big believer in you go through things for a reason, and one of them is I feel like I went through sales and construction and these other things to be able to figure out how to sell my own construction, if that makes sense.
The pieces kind of fell in when you started doing sales and stuff. Now you moved into construction. Now you have the ability to sell a job.
Sell what you do good at.
Yeah.
One thing that always kind of confuses me is obviously to go on a bid, right? You go out there, you look at everything. You have to know what the competition's basically bidding, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got to be in tune with that, and then your cost. And at the end of the day, you have to make some kind of profit, or else you're losing
For
money
sure,
paying
yeah.
people. So
Yeah,
what is that process like? Is it a pain in the ass?
The process is, at first, definitely, and then I realized I got to compete with other people, but at the end of the day, we try to, because I do have a partner. I give a shout out to Jake and John. But, we realized that, there are other companies that charge a lot more.
Yeah.
But they have so much overhead, right? Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So they're a larger company.
A lot of
And
equipment, a lot of a
Absolutely,
lot more
yeah.
employees.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask
Labor
why
costs.
so much or whatever, but these are the reasons. And there's a lot of companies out there that can undercut you because they don't have, they do a lot of things self-performed,
Yeah.
and they can keep the cost down, don't have a ton of overhead. And
Yeah.
we kind of fall in the middle of those guys, man, and not a ton of overhead. We do perform a lot of in-house work ourselves if we can do it, and but if we gotta
So you don't have to sub out.
for sure, yeah. So we sub out like what's important, like electrical, plumbing,
Yeah,
things like
like
HVAC,
HVAC,
yeah,
The 4-way stuff.
for sure, yeah. A lot of liability on those things,
Oh, yeah.
so it's
Just better to just sub it out and
Absolutely.
take the cost.
absolutely, yeah.
And
we
if you're
learned that the
traveling
hard way.
around to a ton of different, I'm sure. What's that story like?
It took a long time to build a crew, and
yeah.
make sure contracts are number one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It holds the feet to the fire, and they're responsible.
Yeah.
So
And so even I guess even in that industry too, it's like let's just make a contract then.
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Make sure that you
Yeah.
understand what you're liable for, what
Yeah.
we're liable for, and where we meet.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So what's your specialty? Finish work or?
Well, we do everything. We're and it's kind of like vague when I say everything, but there's not a lot of people that do what we do. We're a one-stop shop, whether that's subbing it out or whatever, or doing the in-house stuff, like hanging drywall.
Yeah.
Like we do a lot of in-house hanging drywall.
Yeah.
Tape and texture, things like that, and like I said, we sub out electrical,
Yeah.
stuff, other things.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure the code is
yeah.
different everywhere you go to. I don't know, maybe not. I'm sure there's a federal code for like HVAC and electrical and things like that, but I think that
The
varies
city
for
code
city,
overlays,
right?
yeah. I think it does.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's probably better for you to sub that out anyway because you're going to get
For
somebody
sure,
local
yeah,
who
yeah,
knows
yeah.
all that
Yeah,
code. They're
yeah.
certified to do it, and it's just easier.
Well, being a general contractor, a lot of people don't realize, it's in the wording, general contractor.
Yeah.
Realistically, like, you're supposed to contract out work. You're basically just
Yeah, true.
there to make
Yeah.
sure everything runs great and it stays on track, and the contract. Well, it took us a while, but the contract part is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Managing the construction. That's it's a big thing.
Now I heard about that a general contractor is, they sub out stuff, but you should also know how to do that stuff.
No, absolutely, and that's one of the beauties of the things that I've went through, and the things that my partners have went through is that we've touched on a lot of this. We don't know everything. I say if you aren't learning something new every day, then you're stuck. You know, so.
Yeah.
So learn a little
True.
bit of, you don't have to know everything, but learn a little bit of all of it, And at the end of the day, like, if they're trying to get over on you or make up excuses or just
take shortcuts.
absolutely,
Yeah.
like understand the process,
I'm sure over time you end up building relationships with certain people too. If have you ever had to call in, do you have like a clutch guy back in Arizona that you're like, oh, this job is like, I've been trying to find a contractor. We'll just get you out here and take care of it.
We have so many clutch guys, but I can't tell you how long it's taken to get those clutch guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like you take care of your guys, because there's going to be those moments where you're like, hey, I know you got jobs lined up.
We'll make it worth your while.
We'll make it worth your
Yeah.
while, and it's all in a way you kind of like deal with your subcontractors too. And I can't tell you how many times we've been through a painter, a tile guy,
Yeah.
just anybody trying to find the right guy who does the job properly and appreciates what you put in with them,
and is reliable.
Absolutely.
Shows up.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the most important quality in a person like that? Is it reliability? Like, obviously, you have to be able to be good at your
I would
trade.
say reliable and
Right.
quality.
Yeah, absolutely reliable and quality for sure. Yeah.
So I think that's always a huge issue with most. I think a lot of people in jobs is like you've got to be better than the other guys. If you're you have to be more reliable.
Yeah.
You got to do your job really well. And I mean, nobody at the end of the day wants to go work for 8 hours or 12 hours a day.
Absolutely.
you can't pay your bills unless you
Right.
do that. So you kind of have to come to that acceptance of, yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So just do it and do it well.
Yeah.
And I think that's how
The last thing you
build
want to
the
do
trust.
is rip out somebody else's work.
Yeah,
and redo
no,
it.
that's more expensive.
It is warranty work doesn't pay.
Realistically, I got to figure out what they did wrong and then go
Yeah.
from there. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. And I imagine the same thing happens on like the supplier side too, right?
for sure. Yeah,
Because now you're
yeah.
building. So you're kind of the guy in the middle of all of it.
It's
You're
like the orchestrator
yeah, you're project manager, I guess, in a way where you're like,
Conductor?
I'm
Is that
finding
what
the
it is?
people. Yeah,
For
conductor.
sure.
Of an orchestra, yeah.
Finding the people, finding you know, the having to deal with all the ordering and things like that, and you know.
Yeah.
So how many guys did you start with, and how many like employees versus
So
contractors?
Originally, we started with it was just 3 of us.
Yeah.
You know, I went from that airport project to having a bad background, so I technically wasn't supposed to be there.
yeah.
And then Homeland Security showed up, and I bounced, and they're like, "Get to the van now! Don't let them talk to you."
Yeah, oh, shit.
So right after that, I went and picked up my tools and my pajamas, and the next day, you know, I was on the horn with my buddy, and he's like, "Hey, I got this remodel." He was the big dog of the company, you know, and they weren't helping out a lot, man. You know, it was hard to find workers. You know, I'm sure with myself as well. You know, he gave me the opportunity, but like I said, I didn't have the best background, so technically I wasn't supposed to be there, but.
You kind of have to scrape sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It was 3. So it was 3, me, Jacob, and my buddy Ben. I told him about him. I'm like, hey, dude, this guy's solid. You know, let's give him the opportunity, and you know, we did, and he's good. You know?
So how important was it in the beginning that you had a team that you could trust and a team that did it make the difference?
Super important.
Yeah.
You know, it made a huge difference knowing that you could trust your team.
Yeah.
You know,
And you all worked together to like just push it sounds like you all had the same goals in mind. And
we just wanted to do better, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, we talk about like I talked about, you know, if you're in construction, you've had some kind of like a substance abuse somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you're either crazy and enjoy construction, you know, but or you're on something, you know, like but realistically, you know, we're all we've all been through it. We're all sober. We just want to do better for ourselves and our family, you know?
Yeah.
So
how many employees do you have now?
Oh man, we're running 3 states right now. About to start a 4th one.
Oh shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So not counting subs, we probably got about 15 guys.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And you have to keep that all organized somehow.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's easier having partners.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You know.
That's why I brought up the team. You got to share
The
that
team.
workload,
Solid,
you know,
yeah.
and you have to. I'm
Absolutely.
sure you guys coordinate all the time with what's going on everywhere.
Right.
Synced up and what you're doing next.
Right.
Because I think that's the other thing too, is part owner, you know, like you have to be not only in the moment to help complete the jobs that you're currently working on, but you constantly have to be looking in the future to be like, okay,
What's
even though I
next?
dealt with all these problems on this job that I was just at right now, I'm going to go make this phone call to make sure this job's lined up right when we're done with this one.
For
and,
sure.
and I'm sure you all have your areas of expertise where you complement each other too. Like
No, absolutely.
Your strengths.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really good on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot better on the computer. But,
Yeah.
You know, there's,
You
like
sort
I
of
said,
have to.
Yeah. That was my biggest downfall. Probably. I had to learn. You know, I had to learn running the guys. I had to learn being on the computer at the same time. I had to learn just figuring things out and still trying to jump in there. Like for the longest time, I was just like, "Oh, we're all working."
Yeah.
I'd jump in and forget to line a couple guys out, or somebody be standing around. They don't, you know, I'm upset about it, but they don't know what they're doing next, you know, so that's my fault, you know, not staying ahead of them, but I'm just figuring, hey, if I
How to
stay
balance
busy,
it,
you know. So I had to figure out that, you know, making sure if I worked less, but 3 guys knew what they were doing, they're getting more done than me.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's such a
That's a
cool,
great leader.
And you know what? The way that you explain it means that you've learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
you're not just talking like somebody told me this. You literally are like, you have to take, and I think that's hard for some people too, to step back and be like, all right, you know, I know that I can do it right, but I think it's better for me to let them do it, and that way I can move on and do something that's more important for the business.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which did that kind of suck? Because now you're like, well, I kind of want to just do it. 'Cause I could get it done quicker, maybe cheaper.
I always say, like, even if I'm in business for like 75 years, I want to still be in the field somewhere. if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get bored in the office, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, you have to step back and you got to make sure that the guys are good, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the gig.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure throughout the process of building up to where you are now, that you've had setbacks. You know how
Absolutely.
what's I guess an example of a setback and how you dealt with that.
Yeah.
You know, because I think owning your own business, once you hit a setback, you get really demotivated, and you're like, I don't know if I'm doing this shit right, or I don't know what I'm
or
doing.
you experience something like COVID and
Oh, shit.
economic
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
and yeah.
So I've had, as far as business goes, I've had a lot of setbacks. Failing businesses, that doesn't help. It hits you where it hurts, and having to come to a realization that you got to dissolve it and figure it out, and maybe go get a 9 to 5 or whatever. But setbacks, as far as what we've had, in our construction industry in the past 7 years, it's a lot of people. I guess you can only look at it like this. You could either dwell upon it, or you can learn from it and try to make a better way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's an important way of looking at it. Is just, what we did didn't really work, but what did we learn from it not working? Let's make sure it doesn't happen again.
For sure. Like contracts, for example. We realized contracts are super important because when we first started, what was a contract? Who do I go to get a contract? Do I Google it, or do I, and then you find
Hire an
out
attorney or
exactly, so. Well, that's not the first thing on mind when you're a small company and you're like, how much is this going to cost me with an attorney?
You just think about money. Yeah.
For sure. So it's like a YouTube university. And but, it's contracts. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars we probably lost because we didn't have a contract with somebody. And some people take advantage of it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever, you don't have to go into details, but has anybody ever broken contract and you're like, oh yeah, we'll get our money? Like to a legal level, or generally is it kind of more civil than that?
It's generally more civil. A lot of people don't want to go through the legal process.
Yeah,
it gets expensive, and obviously if it's for us, we're asking for legal fees, things like that. But there's this thing that when we work on houses and they sign contract, realistically we could put a lien on their property.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So we might not get paid tomorrow, but they got to sell
Mechanics
their house
liens.
sometime.
Yeah, mechanics liens are big.
Yeah,
you can't get a loan if there's mechanics liens.
Absolutely,
there. Got to pay all your
think about
subs.
that.
Yeah.
Either way, they got to pay us.
I guess at the end, contracts, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing the assisted living renovation stuff right now. Are you planning on moving to anything different, or is that just kind of like the main focus at the moment? Like, what's the future?
So the future is realistically, this is getting us by.
Yeah.
It's fun. The out of town stuff is cool. At the same time, I got to remember in the back of my head, I got a family in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's big on them, so I can't let that go.
Yeah.
But we have some projects going in Arizona where we're remodeling houses. We got some big ones out there that we're still trying to stay ahead of. We got properties in like Buckeye, Arizona, where we're trying to build our own houses. That's kind of always been, the goal is to build our own house and be able to sell it as a custom home.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to say we did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a lot of money there.
Yeah. And then, so the biggest goal is, I was in the moving industry for a while, probably like 7 years, I think, with a friend of mine who started with nothing, and I remember he was moving mattresses on like cars,
And now he's like a service.
Now he's a truck.
Yeah, now he's got a multi-million-dollar business where he goes cross country, But I learned real quick that storage units.
Yeah.
People put their stuff there, and they pay you to just hold it. You're not
Pods.
You're not reliable.
That's like ingenious.
Yeah,
Man.
absolutely.
Yeah, Pods was a genius.
That was a super smart idea.
I'm getting one.
moving.
Yeah, just drop it off, and then whenever you're ready, we'll come pick it up.
They'll send laborers with them.
Absolutely, yeah. So
2 hour minimum, $100 an hour.
Yeah,
It's almost like you've looked into this.
I have.
Yeah, we were contracted with Pods, and I can tell you what, like if Pods is listening right now, make them a little bigger. Like
A little cheaper because U-Haul has you beat on price, man.
Yeah, U-Haul though, you're kind of like. on the hook for everything. You know, well,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to drive it.
No, they have pods too.
They
They're
have
not,
like
they
closets.
don't call them pods.
They have
but,
like closets.
yeah.
So I dealt with this a lot in the moving industry. There's pods and then there's the closets that
Right,
U-Haul
yeah.
offers.
Yeah.
You know what though? Talking about the storage industry, I always like drive past. You drive past them all the time, and you're like, "What a great business!" Because
Dude,
first
it
of
is.
all, you're getting paid
Yes.
to just put shit in a locker, and then a lot of times people put shit in a locker, and then they're like,
And then
"I
they
don't really
leave
need
it.
any of that, so I'll just keep paying indefinitely."
Right,
for
yeah.
Or they quit paying and you
Yeah.
get to auction it.
Yeah. So
storage wars.
Storage
wars. Well, that's the thing that sucks about like storage is you know, if it goes to auction, they don't pay their price.
Yeah.
When it goes to auction, it's actually illegal for them to make any money off of it, if that makes sense.
Really?
Like,
I didn't know that.
So the company actually gets paid what is behind, if that makes sense, and then the rest of that money they have to send out to the person who owns that storage.
They do?
Oh,
They do,
okay.
yeah.
I did not
Yeah.
know that.
That would make
Yeah.
sense though,
That's
because
interesting.
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Maybe they have a bad contract. It's probably illegal
Yeah.
though, right? Because I
It
think
is totally
a lot of people that put stuff
Well,
in
there's got to
storage.
be like a
unit-
statute of limitations of how long they leave it there and they
Mm-hmm.
abandon
Oh,
it
yeah.
and don't pay you.
I'm sure there's a whole process, just like
Yeah.
getting evicted from an apartment
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
You know, they can't just
Yeah.
tell you like, "Oh, you didn't pay rent," and then a day later say, "Get the fuck out,"
Yeah.
because you can't just kick somebody out. And I'm
Mhm.
sure same thing with their belongings. You don't pay for a few months, they probably send notices. They probably send you to collections,
yeah.
and then
Oh, yeah.
if you
Yeah.
like maybe 6 months later or something, they're like, "Okay, we'll just sell the shit then."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they collect what they're owed from the customer and they send it out to the customer like, sorry you lost your stuff, but this is what we got for the remainder of it. You know?
I kind of feel for how the storage unit industry works too, because when I moved into my house, I had a bunch of shit from when I was a kid that it's in boxes, and it's all just
Yeah.
sitting underneath my stairs, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been there for 5 years. I haven't even looked in the
Do you know
box.
what's in it?
Yeah.
No,
So they make
I obviously
What's in
didn't
the
fucking
box?
need it.
So my daughter stopped by yesterday. She says, "Hey, Mom, they make these QR codes that you can put on your moving boxes now and inventory all your stuff. So if you're looking for something that's boxed, you can just hit the QR code and
Oh,
figure
that's
out
a
what
good
box
idea.
it is." Yeah, dude, I was
a
like,
great
really? They
idea.
sell them on Amazon.
Now you
That's a
can keep
good
shit in your boxes for like 7 years
7
after
years.
you moved into your house.
Can you imagine the time it take to QR everything
Right?
that you own?
I
You're
thought
like,
about it
why
and
do
I'm
I
like-
even got this?
Well, it would just be boxes, right? So you'd put like all your glassware
Yeah,
in one
yeah.
box and then the
And
QR
QR
code
yeah.
with like glassware.
And then you
Then you got
scan
to
it.
take the time
Until
to
you hit the
inventory
junk
everything.
drawer.
Right, you have to
kitchen.
inventory everything.
That's true.
Yeah, the junk drawer.
Well,
Was
then,
it
would
in
take
that
too-
junk
way too
drawer,
much
or
time.
was it in that
Right.
junk drawer?
Yeah.
I'm more
I have, like,
focused
3.
on getting all the shit into
For
the boxes versus spending the time to inventory.
yeah, and then
Well, I
you'd
have
run
like
in,
3 months to move, so I'm thinking
there you
about
go.
it.
Just get it in a box.
Yeah.
but then you'd run into the problem where you've got like kitchen box number 1 and then
Yeah.
kitchen box number 2, and so when you go to look for your shit, you're like, shit, was it in number 2 or number 5?
Well, you have to
Yeah.
inventory it all.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
sounds like a pain in the ass. Great idea.
And then
I
your
don't know
kids
about
helped you pack, so kitchen box number 1 is bedroom 2. Shit,
So true.
Where'd that box go?
Ooh.
Yeah, I hate the. I think we've talked about it on
Not
the show
telling you
before.
where my head went.
Laura, get your mind out of the gutter. But we've talked about it on the show before, but it always sucks when you show up to help a buddy move and then you realize that they haven't packed anything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, just
Will you
start
help me
grabbing
move?
shit and throw it in the truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, man. I can't tell you how many times I got that. They're like, you work for a moving company. You could pack a truck.
Oh my God, how sick did you get at hearing that?
Oh, man, all the time.
Like
You
every
know?
like
How
whenever.
many favors were you asked? Like,
It's like when you buy a truck, you know, you're like, hey, by the way, can you help me get something from Home Depot?
Yeah.
You know?
I
Or my
just got-
mom, you know. It's funny. A funny story about my mom. You know, is we grew up in Goodwill. You know, we're poor. My mom did
Yeah.
everything she could to make the best of the situation, but 50-cent Fridays was fucking on. You know, like, and then as we got older, she's like,
50-cent
call your
Fridays?
friends.
I don't know, but they do anymore.
They did back in the day. Yeah. Now it's like half off days or something like that. Yeah. But as we got older, it's like, hey, call your friends. Call your friends with the car, you know.
Yeah.
Come get this shit.
Yeah. I just got the first time since I got my new truck, somebody messaged and said, hey man, can I you got some time I can use the truck? Messaged me and Kurt was like that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can help you. I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? I just got my truck, man. I haven't been able to help anyone yet.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm sure it'll happen again. Well, it's about time to take a break. We'll be right back after a little bit of a break. And we're back.
Hey,
I used to
welcome
break
back.
a lot before the break.
I know.
Yeah, now we're back from a
We're
break.
breaking from the break, and we're back from the break.
That was totally one of those things where I was trying to think of something clever to say, and then I just completely stumbled and said break twice.
It's okay. It happens.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should host from now on. I need to retire.
I can't get the 1, 2, 3 count right.
That's true. You did kind of jump the gun last time.
I did.
So I think we kind of left off where, talking about how you built up your business, but
Yeah.
life wasn't always easy for you necessarily. You had
No.
your struggles and stuff. What was something that you kind of struggled with before all of this has happened?
So, I mean, struggling through life, life is wild. But
Were you a good student in school, or were you a hellion?
well, let's say I'd say up to about 6th grade, I was a hellion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you got it out of your system pretty early.
Yeah, I did. I was. My dad wasn't around a lot. He was doing tons and tons of drugs, and I think my stepdad came in, and then he kind of just tried to be my dad. So I resented that a lot. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah.
But in all
dad?
reality,
Yeah, I'm the man of the house here.
Yeah, right. So, but in all reality, I didn't realize till I was older that he was just like trying
his best.
That's it, dude.
Yeah.
And then nowadays I just I could do nothing but tell him, hey man, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more you realize that about. I think everybody does about their parents.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
You're a kid, you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm 17 and I got the world figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna move out on my own, and then you move out on your own, and you're like, oh
Bye.
fuck, you guys were right.
Yeah.
Not everybody. I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
different, but
You pack a bag and you're like, fuck this PB&J. You can come back and fucking dinner's there. You're good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily easy, Like after you graduate high school, and then
I did.
you kind of move on and figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
What'd you do after high school?
So I had my son right out of high school. Got my first job while I was still a senior in high school. I figured it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
About to have a kid, get a job, like money.
That's a tough transition from school to fatherhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You skipped a part of life that a lot of people spend time making bad decisions.
Absolutely. And then I did the best I could in the situation that I had dealt myself. But I think I made I didn't have those opportunities to make the bad decisions.
Yeah.
Well, props to you for being responsible to take care of that.
Well, not too many props, because I ended up making the bad decision later on.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but you go through life, you live and you learn, and thinking that my father would be on tons of drugs and he wasn't around a lot, you think I'd be the opposite of that, I guess.
I mean, sometimes life kicks you in the balls, and then you make a bad decision and kind of go down a rabbit hole. What was that for you, if you don't mind sharing?
So I ended up splitting up with my ex, got with somebody else, and then we ended up getting this job in another business I tried to start, obviously, is a handyman business.
Yeah.
While I was still working, so it was like, she took a job and it had to be done in like 2 weeks, didn't talk to me about it. And I was like, hey, we can get this job done in 2 weeks, but we're going to need some, we're going to need to pick up some little extracurritural activity to get it done so we never sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotcha.
And then that's when it all started, I, methamphetamine. It's not a good thing. I went down that rabbit hole.
Was it like the first time that you tried it, it was like hooked you? Is it one of those type of drugs?
The first time I tried it, yeah, absolutely. I think, I gave a lot of reason to, I need it because I need to get this job done. But realistically, like that first high,
you're blaming it kind of on productivity at that point.
Because I know I'm fucking up.
Yeah, you're like, I'm totally fine. I don't have a problem because I'm getting all this fucking work done.
For sure, yeah. And then, one thing led to another. Lost our house. She lost her kids, and long story short, I ended up, living homeless on the streets for about 7 years.
Oh,
wow. Shit!
Really?
Yeah, like
what's the reality
eating
of
out
that?
of trash cans? Legit,
Yeah,
like
dude.
living behind grocery stores. Like it was bad.
Like, what's the reality of being homeless like that? Like, when you were homeless, was it still a drug problem there, or was it more of like?
And I could say this for myself, not anybody else who's been there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely, it was a drug problem. I enjoyed the not having to worry about a schedule, the not having to worry about the importance of life, and having to worry about my kids or worry about,
Was it tough?
The daily grind. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Figure out a way to earn the
Yeah.
money to buy your drugs.
Where would you
Yeah.
Where would you like sleep at? Just
I would I would sleep behind trash cans.
yeah,
I would sleep behind like compactor dumpsters because they're a little more like secure.
yeah.
I would sleep behind like the Dollar General, and in a bad area, it's like 83rd Avenue and Indian School is it's
Yeah.
just it's not good,
Yeah. Did you ever have
And
a scare like where you were like, oh shit?
I never had a scare. I mean, I did some shit. That's all I'm gonna leave it at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we were kind of the people you didn't fuck with that were homeless, and the
okay.
homeless crowd knew that.
Yeah.
And we totally had each other's backs, and then we just they talk about like seeing shadow people.
Yeah.
When you've been up for like 9 fucking days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's somebody over there. Well, I was the guy to go check it out because I'm like, if there's somebody there, fuck,
I'm gonna whip their ass.
yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, long story short, man, I went through that. It was
What
a
was
process.
Oh, I
Go
was going
ahead.
to say, what got you out of it?
Yep.
Man, I can tell you what got me out of it was the persistence of family.
Okay.
There was a point in my homelessness where I had taken off and nobody had seen me for 3 years.
Oh shit.
Wow.
I was looking for cigarettes in a gutter on the street, and a cop pulled me over because he got some call about something crazy. I don't know that was going on.
Yeah.
Probably just a vagrant or whatever
Yeah.
was the real call. But he stopped me, and after about 10-15 cops asking me all my same information that I told everybody else, he's like, hey,
Were you on a missing persons list?
I was.
You were.
Oh shit.
I was actually top 10 of the Arizona missing person list.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Looking
was,
back on that, like, how does it
Got
make
goosebumps.
you feel?
it's a realization, man. It's like, I got away from my family. I took off.
Yeah, so the
Right.
people that actually were probably telling you these things, like, hey, if you need help, we'll help you. You kind of push everybody away when you get down that deep, right?
I think for some people, yeah. I think me getting that deep and staying away from everybody, my family and people I knew who cared and stuff like that. It was more like, if I stay away, I won't hurt them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
realistically, like that
You
was
were
in my
hurting 'em.
mind. But realistically, like my family took a toll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Worrying
Like,
about you, they're thinking about you all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
6 years.
Family,
That's
friends.
a long time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of puts like the missing persons list into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So what happened? Did they take you to your family or?
No, so I ended up getting sober. My brother got out of prison. He found me in some random ass neighborhood in some drug house. Nobody could find me. Let me tell you, nobody could fucking find me.
did you kind of take pride in the fact that you're like, nobody's ever gonna
Not
find me?
necessarily pride, just I knew nobody could find me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my brother did an 8-year stint. I think the second time around, or no, the first time around, he did like an 8-year, or he was supposed to do an 8-year stint. He did his sometime, got out on parole,
Yeah.
and then randomly showed up at the house that I was like at the drug house, and walked through the door and said, "Where's my brother, Chris Wheeler?" And I wasn't there. Obviously, they knew I lived across the street at the park,
Yeah.
like in just some random ass park in the neighborhood, and they're like, "He's over there with his girl." So he gets out of his car and he's like, "What are you doing? You look like fucking Skeletor." And I look over and it's him, and I'm like, "Son of a bitch!
You're like,
How did you find me?"
Yeah.
So my girlfriend at the time ended up going to jail that night, and
Oh,
then
shit.
he seen the opportunity to grab me and scoop me up and take me to the halfway house with him.
Yeah.
Were you upset at the time, or like, I'm not going, or was it more of like,
It was more
Was it a
like
relief?
It was more like I knew I had fucked up for so long, and it was time.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah,
And he was there, and he'd kind of always been like a supporter and a rock, and we just been through so much shit, I could trust him.
yeah,
So his word was, "Hey, we're getting sober," and at the end of the day, like, we went there. It was cool. I was sober for like 2 months, and then, it didn't help that the drug dealer that we usually had was like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we ignored it for like 2 months, and then we ended up slipping back into it, both of us, and,
Yeah.
and long story short, I ended up, back on the streets. I see my family in between then when I was sober, and they used to do a lot of bad shit, so I felt like a lot of people were like on me.
Yeah.
Not just because of the meth, but because of the shit I did.
Yeah.
And there was this one moment where my ex was like, hey, I got court for the kids tomorrow, and some paperwork is like at your uncle's house. And I didn't really think it was, you know. I'm sure my uncle got rid of a lot of it, but I was on the up and up. I was done, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, I might have been slipped with something, because she's like, hey, let's go outside, check it out. Look at this tree.
Yeah.
What do you think? And I'm like, fuck, there's like millions of bugs on this tree. And I'd never done acid, you know, but I'm like, I grew up with fucking 70s uncles and dad, you know, so I hear all about it, you know, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely what happened. Somebody fucked with me, you know.
Yeah.
And we hopped on a city transit bus that night, and I'm like, hey, let's go to my uncle's. We'll figure out your paperwork. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I know I can get there and be safe.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just done. So our city transit bus ended up getting into an accident on the way there.
Wow.
Fucking random.
Right?
Yeah, super random, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's got to get off the bus. The cops come, and I'm like, fuck. If I can't get back on this bus, I'm not safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, I tell the cop, they run everybody's information. I know I have a warrant.
Yeah.
I totally know I got a warrant. And he's like, you guys can go. And I'm like, no, I can't. You got to take me to jail. I'm telling the cops this, you know. I'm like, no, you guys got to take me in, you know.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of safe in there, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
What is, you know? I'm like, dude, you got to take me to jail.
After he just told you,
After
like,
he
you're
just
good
told
to
me,
go.
like, it's cool. You just got no accident. We'll let it slide, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, fuck that. You got to take me to jail. So they wouldn't take me to jail, and I'm like, all right, I'm in fear for my life. You need to make her go that way, and I'm going to go this way. So that's what they did. You know, they made her go one way, and I fucking took off and ran. That morning, we ended up meeting with some, like, church. I guess, I don't know if you can call them missionaries, but it was a church group that was, like, passing out, you know, blankets and sweaters and things like that. And, you know, just like any other tweaker, I always carried a backpack with my shit on me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Had that sweater on, and I was like, I took off, and I threw the backpack, and I threw the sweater. I'm like, oh, there's a tracking device in it.
Yeah, you were
In the back of my
convinced,
head, I was super convinced, you know. And then I had two pictures, one of my daughter, one of my son, in my wallet. I took out those pictures, and I threw my wallet just over the I-17 bridge.
Oh, yeah?
You know, on Glendale, right where the trains are.
Because now you're convinced that,
now
like,
I'm convinced,
somebody's coming.
Somebody's coming for me, you know. I've probably been up for like 9-10 days straight.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you start seeing some shit, yeah. And then I hopped on a train, and I fell asleep. Where I fell asleep is where the trains connect, you know?
Yeah.
There's like a little divide down in there, a little, like probably a 6x, you know, I'd say, where like my body just fit on there. And it was it was November, so it was like super cold
as
raining
shit.
that night. And I ended up falling asleep on it. I remember looking down, and I can see the wheels of the train, you know, moving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, this is wild. So,
So you're not in the train. You're in between two
I'm in between two trains. Yeah.
Jeez.
No cargo on this one, you know.
Yeah.
And so I fall asleep because it'd been a long time, you know, since I had an up or whatever.
Yeah.
So I fell asleep, and then I ended up waking up once the train started coming to a halt or slow down, because it really jerked me. And I'm like, fuck, where am I at? So I get up, and I'm at this train station. I get off, I hop the fence, and I go to the Circle K across the street, and I'm just chilling outside. Like, I could feel, you know how you get cold, like in your bones?
Yeah.
You know, like it's a different type of cold, you know?
You're not just cold. You're really
Makes your
fucking
back
hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
Your back
But-
hurts just all the time. Anyway.
Right, I know.
So I'm just chilling out there, and this guy comes out, and he's like, hey, if my boss sees you out here, he's going to trip, and he's going to be in a little bit. So I went inside, washed up, and I'm like, where am I? And he's like, Parker, Arizona. So I rode the train from like Glendale, Arizona, all the way to Parker, Havasu area.
Oh shit!
Which
Yeah,
is
that's a long
super
ways.
far. Yeah. And then this dude he gave me a jacket. He gave me like $10. He let me stay at his place for like 2 days and just sleep it off. And he ended up
shit.
he knew a guy that owned a car wash right down the way. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm starting my life over. I can't go back. Like, I got to protect my family. You know, people were after me, and I'm still tripping. I'm sure, you know. And I went and looked at the car wash, and it was a little Mexican car wash. And I'm like, fuck, this is probably cartel shit. So I ended up going to buy a pack of smokes, some chips, and then I hitchhiked all the way back to like Buckeye, Arizona.
Oh, shit.
And that's where I ended up at my sister's. And since that day, November 14th, I got sober.
Oh, no
November
kidding.
What year?
Yeah, November 14th, 2015. Yeah.
So it was like this weird chain of events that led to like you just being like, I'm fucking done with this shit.
I'm out. Yeah, absolutely.
That's so.
Yeah, haven't touched it since.
That's why I've been saying that. Like, I love hearing stories because everybody's so different. And like, you did the rehab thing, and it didn't work out for you. Got to kind of rock bottom, and then ended up in a place you didn't know where you were, and met somebody who was really nice. Somebody who's like,
somebody helped out. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I don't know, at that time, did you feel like respect for the kindness? You're like, this dude 100%. Really wants to help me.
So, and this is how I've always been as an individual, is respect, and I was raised correctly, Yeah. So the one thing I can say is that I never lost myself, I guess you could say, where a lot of people go into it and they just completely lose themselves.
Yeah.
They don't,
Yeah.
And I can say that I didn't lose myself, which is a great thing, and I'm excited about that.
You found yourself again.
Yeah. Or I found myself again, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe I was lost at one point, but I did
Sounds
find
like you were
myself again.
lost for a while.
For sure.
Dude,
I'm teary-eyed because these are heart stories.
Yeah.
And everybody has a story.
And think about putting that together with what we talked about in the first half.
Yeah.
You went through all of that, and then you're able to build what you built now, which I think a lot of people probably give up hope, right? Like, oh, it's over for me. I can't do that.
There's always hope.
Yeah. And I think, I hope this reaches somebody that maybe thinks there isn't.
Yeah.
Same.
It's you can go through this and you can work your ass off just because you went through this. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Like, build yourself.
It doesn't define you.
It doesn't define who you are. Absolutely. You can't always change the past, but you can definitely change your future for the better.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an awesome, amazing story.
It is. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Now you're set. You set up. You take care of the family. You've got 2 businesses. Wheeler Construction, right?
Yes, Wheeler Construction and co-owner of Coker. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
man, that's like
that was
wild.
And I think
I'm teary-eyed. Sorry.
a lot of the world or a lot of people won't admit that that's the reality for more people than we think. Like, people get lost every day, and then I never would have thought about that missing persons list.
Yeah.
Because you see those posters like missing, and I just look at them and think, I wish there was anything I could do to help, and at the end of the day, it could be missing for a lot of reasons, but that's crazy that you were literally, your family's like, we don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
And then
literally
randomly get stopped by the cops like, hey man.
It's nuts.
So,
but here we are today.
Yeah,
better.
here we are today, man.
It's possible.
And you're happy, you're smiling.
Super happy. I've been through too much. It takes more to not be happy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that we were out on the patio at the bar talking, and we had talked a few times, and you're like, yeah, I want to come on. I want to come on the show and share the story.
Yeah.
And you're one of the very few rare people that when I ask, you should be on the podcast, I don't have anything to talk about. You're like, no, I think I want to share the story.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
So thank you for that. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
So what, from here on, you're just going to keep running the construction business? Like, what's your retirement plan?
My retirement plan really is, so the ultimate goal is to, break the cycle, I guess you could say, within my family. We've always been broke. We've always been, why us?
Yeah.
And it's crazy, but it's not going to be like that anymore.
Yeah.
You want to leave a legacy.
We're going to do something to give my kids that they can figure out and be able to, do themselves and figure out. And at the end of the day, man, I know we were talking about storage facilities earlier. That's a goal. I'd like to build a storage facility, and then when I feel like I'm comfortable enough, I'd love to just be able to give back to the community for those who need it. You know? And maybe put my word out elsewhere and see if I can help somebody else, even if it's one person. Because they say that to get sober and to be somebody. After a stint like that, it's like 3% of people actually come out.
Yeah,
all
so
that,
stats are very
so.
Yeah,
To not do something with it would be crazy.
I've noticed a lot. We've talked to a lot of people that have been through similar things, and that's the one thing. People who've made it out, they want to go on to help people.
For sure, yeah.
It's like and I don't know. Is it for you? Do you feel like that's a consequence of you fucked up for so long that you owe it to people, or do you feel like you just want to give people a better chance than you might have had?
I just feel like there might be some people out there who don't have the cheerleader, I guess.
Yeah.
And to say so, hey, you can do this, and at the same time, really, it's I I see what I put my family through, and if I can help their family,
Yeah. If you
That
can
would be
touch
great,
one
man.
person's life and
absolutely
help them change it, yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I know what a lot of those people's families are going through.
Yeah.
Not necessarily exactly how my family. I don't know because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
They had to do that by themselves, but I have an idea.
It's hard.
Yeah, and if I can help them to get through that and maybe be somebody one day and get out of it, then sweet, man.
Yeah. Makes me
You know.
want to, I don't know, do more in a way.
Yeah.
Well, I
kinda
also
gotta get-
think that if you stay connected with the community,
For sure,
that
yeah,
community,
yeah,
it
yeah.
keeps you on the right path and
Yeah.
wanting to stay sober.
Yeah.
So,
One thing is you never forget where you came from.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You can get all the money in the world, but don't ever forget where you came from.
Yeah.
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 There was always a beginning.
And like there's
Yeah.
plenty of people that are rich as fuck and they are completely unhappy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
everybody's like, what if I won the lottery? What if you did win the lottery and then you realize you're just still not happy?
Still unhappy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
You
gotta go-
gotta find what makes you happy.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to look at your own situation that way and come out the way you did, where it's like, you're motivated by changing, like your past, and
Right.
your history. Like we're not going to live that way anymore because I won't accept that. It's
Yeah,
not good enough
yeah.
until I can change it. But then at the same time, not only do I want to change what my family's done, but now I want to help other people change what they think is impossible.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear motivation like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You went through that
Absolutely.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've said that in the first
And
half.
that's what I'm saying. I've gone through everything in my life for a reason.
Yeah.
Whether it's my work ethic or my jobs or the bad, it's to, and with the bad, you got to see the silver lining in everything.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Well, yeah,
know?
you said you had 15 employees. You're helping
it,
them
yeah,
have
yeah.
better lives now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's also heavy weight though
Yeah.
too, because
Yeah.
now you're thinking, well, you've got 15 people that you're helping, and if you don't have a job for them, then it affects their life crazy.
Absolutely.
But I know, based on just our conversation today, that you're not going to let that happen.
No.
You're going to do
Not at
everything
all.
you can to
Yeah.
make sure that they're still got a job.
it's a lot easier to figure it out than to be fucking nobody.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 And it's motivating too. I mean, that's probably what drives you running the business is you got to also support yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, I'll take the next step, or maybe you stay up a little bit later to work things out,
For sure.
as
yeah.
opposed to
Absolutely.
just going home and being like,
Yeah.
oh no, it sounds cool to watch Netflix and forget about everything.
Yeah. So, off the wall question.
Mhm.
Cost of supplies, materials coming down, supply and demand getting better.
Materials is coming down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when COVID first started, and I hate using this as a contractor, there's so many of them that still to this day use the word COVID
Yeah. Yeah.
for materials, but I feel like it's there's still a need for truck drivers. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So supply and demand is still up. There's not enough truck drivers, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe go be a truck driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's come down exponentially. I remember buying a piece of OSB half-inch plywood before all of this COVID deal, and it was like $10.
Yeah.
You go
Yeah,
buy
not
a
anymore.
piece of OSB, it's like $35.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
When
That's
it got
insane.
nuts. So it's down over half. Materials are still up, like I said, because they are looking for truck drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a big demand for them, and we need more. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess, especially getting a bigger contract too probably helps with purchasing more.
It does.
products.
So you get in with companies, and the more you spend, the more they're willing to assist you. You're a
Yeah.
big customer. You know what I mean? So they're just on top of their
Yeah.
stuff for you. Yeah.
Yeah. When you move from city to city, do you have to find different suppliers and stuff like that?
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
So the majority of suppliers, like when we do tile, it's typically all dull tile,
Yeah.
things like that. Big tile companies.
So that they've got a location in that city where
Pretty
you can,
much,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. They're national, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of companies that we deal with that are national, and even if they're not in that same city, they're not too far.
It sounds
know.
like
And they'll
it
ship.
sounds like that's a lesson that you had to learn too. Is like, let's do a national thing because no matter where we go, we can always find a vendor.
Wild, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure you had to learn that the hard way.
Still to this day, though, we keep the lights on at Home Depot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah, that's Kurt and I always joke that whenever you do a project around your house, you're going to be at Home Depot at least 3 times.
Yeah.
absolutely,
You're gonna
yeah,
forget shit.
It never fails.
yeah.
Well, so what's interesting about you coming on the show today too is that you're pretty much leaving back to Arizona within like the next week or so.
Yeah, so we're about to head back. The final walk tomorrow on the job. I'm sure we'll have touch-ups, things like that. There's a couple of things we're waiting on, but I'll probably end up flying back for it, unless we end up painting the exterior.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll be here for probably about another month or so if we end up doing
Back and
that.
forth.
Yeah, back and forth.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And then you'll be on to the next thing, and I don't know, next time you're
on to
in
the next one.
Yeah.
Utah, I guess we'll have you on the show again.
That's it. Let me know.
But you get to go back home throughout the jobs, don't you? Like,
Yeah, I go
visit your
back. So
family?
I go back every 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
realistically, like, I got, I have 4 kids. A blended family. My wife's got 2. I got 2. But altogether, we got 4. But I have my 2 every 2 weeks. So I go back every 2 weeks periodically to make sure that I get that time with them.
Yeah.
It's hard. Because really I want to give my time to my kids, but there's so many other people that are like, hey, where you been? Miss you, seen you.
Yeah, it's a balance, right?
Yeah, it's a balance for sure. Yeah,
family's important.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you talk to your family all the time, like on the phone and FaceTime and stuff like that. But
my mom calls and I still answer the phone and say, "Mommy."
Yeah,
like that's my ride or die.
Yeah. It's so crazy growing up that you don't realize that at a young age. If like I don't think I really did until I moved out of my parents' house for the first time, and then life hit me in the face. And ever since then, I'd always go back over to my parents' house once a week on Sunday for Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
And then my mom cried her eyes out when she moved to St. George because she's like, "You're not going to be able to come over every Sunday."
Yeah.
And still to this day, I call them at least every week.
Hell
Yeah.
Well,
like you said, ride or die.
You take it for granted, when you're young. You're like, dinner table again.
Yeah.
It's like,
or when they're gone.
Yeah.
There were some times too where I still didn't really want to go over there, but I definitely went over there because I was eating macaroni and cheese and ramen the whole week, and I just really wanted a pot roast. You know what I mean?
You were doing man stuff, single man stuff.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't really want to go over and tell them what I did that week because I felt like, I'm like, maybe I'm stalled or something. I don't want my parents to be like, you need to do better. They never did.
Yeah.
But I'd go over there and sometimes I just eat and then see ya.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
My mom always said, still to this day, I'm just happy that she even came over.
Aww.
And that's really what she wants.
Yeah.
Because you made an effort.
Bring your lunch.
Yeah.
And it matters.
It does, yeah.
It does matter.
It does, yeah. The older that I get and the older my parents get, the more that I value that time together. And we go down to St. George and they're like, well, let's go do something. And I'm like, honestly, I'm just happy to be here just sitting around with you, even if we're watching some shitty ass TV. Law and Order SVU.
Miami Vice.
Yeah. Well, is there anything, I guess if people want to get in touch with you, they can email us at contact@theweeklyinSalt.com if you want to talk to Chris, or maybe you're struggling, he can help, or if you just want to get some drywall done.
Raising my hand.
Hit me up either way.
Maybe not for that.
We'll make some changes.
Is there anything that you want to plug?
Just shout out to my family, friends. Love you guys, and that's been a while. So just know that you guys are with me.
All right, this has been your weekly insult. We'll catch you next week.
Yeah.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dude, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, dude, it's a great story.
It is a great story.
Yeah, of course. We'll have you back again.
Yeah.